Broadcasting to the world, this is On Call with Chad McCall. In our show, we bring you inspiration, strategies, and insights on how to start, grow, and scale your business.
It's drastically changed my life.
The show is so informative. I just love it.
It's honest. It's helped me grow as a person.
Real talk about life, lifestyle, society, and living limitless. Learning from the top influencers across the world, along with industry experts, authorities for you to live your greatest life. It's time to level up.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Here's your host, best-selling author and mentor, Chad McCall.
Hello, everyone. Today is another beautiful sunny day here in Arizona. Thank you for letting me occupy part of your day. And I do understand time is valuable. And with every episode, I want to add value to your day with knowledge and experience from real people making an impact in the world. Today's a special episode about influence and inspiration. There are amazing people out there that have no idea of their power of influence. Inspiration is something that you feel on the inside, while motivation is something from the outside that compels you to take action. My call today is with a beautiful lady named Tiffani. After suffering a tragic spinal cord injury at the lake with her friends that left her paralyzed, she's also a cancer survivor. She's a voice for those with disabilities. She's a YouTuber and a fashion model. Yes, this girl really is a boss. In my business, a partner and I started a project where we could build, renovate, and donate homes to individuals in wheelchairs. What we discovered, there's a lost part of society. The world really isn't accessible like we thought. And it really was a perfect match on how our real estate business could do something that we loved. We'll always continue to be a part of that mission. I'm going to be calling Tiffani today so you can get to know her like I do and see the passion she has for life. And she's one tough girl with ambition and continues to fight every day with a world that is slowly becoming accessible. She has qualities in her spirit that as entrepreneurs, CEOs, or side hustlers that can everyone really learn from. When you think of times are tough, things are impossible, take a breath, find out what really motivates you and what inspires you. Today might be the episode you've been waiting for. Hang tight while I get Tiffani on the line. Hello, Siri.
Hello, Chad.
Will you give Tiffani a call?
Of course, I would love to give Tiffani a call.
Hello?
Tiffani,
Hi.
it's Chad. I've got you on the podcast. How are you?
What's going on? I'm good. How are you?
I am great. So tell me, what are you doing? I know I'm catching you off guard here.
What am I doing right now? Well, I just went and stocked up on some groceries and took the dog on a walk, and it's really nice in Chicago right now, weather-wise, so I was just outside for like 3 hours.
Well, Chicago and nice weather, it doesn't, you kind of confused me there when you say that, but I guess there's a couple months of the year that's pretty nice.
This is true.
The listeners today, I wanted to call you, Tiffani, mainly about motivation, talking about businesses and overcoming challenges. There's a lot of listeners that are new entrepreneurs or they're solopreneurs. They've got a side hustle, or it's people that have been thinking about starting something, but it's so easy to get caught up in our own minds. And we like to call them limiting beliefs, where we think it's bad, so it is bad. And right now I thought that there's no person better to call than Tiffani, because just from following you for the last, some odd years, like I've watched you in a transformation mentally of how you've came through so much. And I just want to kind of give a little bit of a backstory about you. When you were 20 years old, you were involved in an accident, a boating accident. I won't go too much into that, except for this accident left you as a tetraplegic. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, most people know it as a quadriplegic, but really technically speaking, it's a tetraplegic.
Okay. And since then, you've become so much more than what you were told was going to happen. And I think that's where I wanted to start and talking with you, by overcoming the spinal cord injury to doing some of the things you're doing now. Let's start off by just talk about like something new, like when anyone's faced with a challenge, what are the first things that go through your mind when something drastic or something tragic happens and you're like, wow, and you got to wake up and decide to do something or not? What goes through your mind?
Well, mine was such a big shift in my whole life that at first it made me really depressed. And because when I had my accident, my doctors basically told my parents and me um, to prepare to never be able to even feed myself again or hold a fork. And that I would basically be, you know, a vegetable for the rest of my life. That's kind of, they have to give you the worst case scenario. This is just how it is. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's wrong. They should put more positivity into it. But if they say, oh, yeah, the odds are like this and you could possibly walk again, and then you don't, it's just setting you up for failure. So with my case, in the beginning, I was very angry. I was just starting off my life. It was 2 weeks before my 20th birthday. So I spent my birthday, in a hospital, and it was awful. So it took a long time. It probably took maybe a year and a half to 2 years. It took to where I was really gaining a lot of independence back to when I was really snapping out of that depression. Um, when you have to have somebody hold a water bottle for you and hold your straw for you, and you're wearing diapers, and you have a caregiver that comes and takes care of you, when just less than a year ago you were 19 years old living on your own. And it was just it was such a lifestyle alter in the blink of an eye. And it took me a long time, and it took a lot of me gaining that self confidence back through being able to take care of myself. I just wanted to be able to take care of myself again, and to not really feel like a burden on my family. There was a lot going on in my family life when my accident happened. My mom and stepdad were going through a divorce. So it really put everybody in a really awkward, weird position. So it was just a lot of things piled on top. My dad was really sick. He lives in Michigan, and he had to have open heart surgery and be flown in a helicopter so there was a lot of things. Life doesn't stop just because there's a tragic accident. Things still will, in different aspects of your life will still be, going on. And so I guess it just took me becoming a lot more self-sufficient to when I really started snapping out of that.
Well, and what you're saying is the first feeling is anger. You feel helpless. There's a dependency, like there's independence that you had, but now you're like, now I've moved over to I'm dependent. And then the timing is never right. Like we'll take, for example, the coronavirus. That's a tragedy for the world. You went through your own personal tragedy. Now everyone else is getting a different type of tragic event happening in their life, and where they're losing jobs. They feel helpless. There's things that no one can really do about it right now, and they've lost so much of that independence. The timing, some people, everything was going great for them, and then this a roadblock has come, like what we're facing now. You've went through a lot of things like that. When you're given news that you were told you couldn't do something, you were told you're never going to do this, or you were told you won't be this, that sets up something for you mentally to say, you know what? Yeah, right. I mean, do you want to prove people wrong? What do you think when you were told those things?
I really wanted to prove everybody wrong, and I did. Um, in a lot of ways, my doctor. I was spent 2 years doing very intense physical therapy, and I got to a point where I was walking with a walker pretty much by myself. I just needed somebody behind me. I needed somebody to help me up, but once I was upright, then I could, take it from there. But then I broke my leg and I couldn't go to physical therapy anymore. But when my doctor, it was funny because I went back and I showed a video of me walking to the doctor that told my parents that I would never be able to feed myself again. And, he's excited for you, he's happy and it's stuff, but it still inside you have that little bit of like a yeah bitch. Like I did that. So like tell me I'm not gonna feed myself again. But um yeah, no, it's a good feeling when you prove them wrong.
The slightest things like that, when you start to prove people wrong, what is it? It's like that's a win. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, yes, I've proved you wrong, but does it keep going from there? Like, what else? How do you get more goals and set more motivation to keep going forward to do more things?
There's just a lot of goals to take care of. There's the whole getting to a standing position by yourself. There's being able to independently live on your own. So there was always a lot of goals on the list. It was never just walking.
Well, with you overcoming that big challenge, like, say, hey, I can do this. What was the first goal that you set next for yourself? Was it to live independently? What was the next goal? Where was your next step?
So the biggest goal that I had was to live on my own because prior to my accident, I had been living on my own since I was 18. Um, so that was always the biggest goal. And when I finally was able to do that, it was very, very gratifying. So, and it took a while, and I still needed somebody to come and help me with things until I learned how to do it myself and adapt to different things. But
What's interesting, because it's what you say though relates to a lot of even the listeners here as well, Tiffany, is you needed someone to help you, you know, in the beginning, and then your goal was to be independent, then you're like, hey, it took a little while. That's just like in everybody's journey in life too, is sometimes you need someone to help you when you get started. You need to grow to where you can be independent in the business. And maybe if it's an entrepreneur that's changing their career or they're going down a different career path, they want to do it on their own. You kind of have the same mindset. It's almost like you are running the Tiffany Corporation, right? You have to be one of yourself and set your goals and set your determination and put the actions behind those goals, meaning you were going to physical therapy. You put the things into motion to still equal success, if you know what I mean. And I think that's what people miss sometimes is they expect that, the journey's too long or it may be too hard. Like you didn't know what you were going to get into. You were told it wasn't going to happen, but you still found a way to say, I'm still going to go to physical therapy. I don't think it's going to be a waste of time. I am going to, accomplish this. I am going to do that. What do you feel gave you the confidence to see it through? Because it was a long journey. And from me following you and seeing, like you said, you broke your leg, so many things happened, but you kept getting back up and you kept going through it. Why? What was the motivation to keep you pushing through?
don't get me wrong, I did have my moments where I didn't want to do it anymore, but I I can't just give up on myself and leave my family or, worst case scenario, take my own life. Like I just couldn't imagine having to do that to my family after everything that, we had already gone through. So there was just no other choice but to keep going. And I don't want to let them down. I want to make them proud. So that was a really probably the biggest factor in me trying to accomplish my goals. I cared more about accomplishing my goals for my family's sake than I did for my own. So it was really them that, kept me going and kept me going to physical therapy, even if I wasn't seeing any progress for, months at a time. So it was just, I didn't really have any choice. I had to do it. I guess that's just the type of person that I am. I don't know.
That's good to have that burning fight in you. It's I can tell that you have a fight about you, and you found your why. Your why to do something was bigger than just you. You found something else, like my family. Like, I want to do it for my family. I don't want to put more strain on my family. Look at all the things that have been going on. I want to do this. I can do this myself. I know I can. I don't want them to do it for me. Seems like that's where you got some of your drive.
Yeah, and it's like they worked so hard to make, you know, to make everything comfortable for me and to, you know, they went through a lot and, my mom had to declare bankruptcy and, I caused a lot of burden. I couldn't just give up on myself after they had, sacrificed so much for me to be in physical therapy and for me to have health insurance.
You didn't stop there going to physical therapy and proving a lot of the doctors wrong. You are modeling now. You're doing a lot of stuff. Tell me what Tiffany's doing now.
As I was doing modeling. I've been doing it for a year now with an agency here in Chicago, and then still doing YouTube and posting physical therapy vlogs and doing a podcast with my friend Peter.
Going through such a tragic accident, when you left the hospital and you went back to to regular life, like at home, the world isn't accessible really to people that go through such a tragic event. Like, what hurdles were you finding that were the biggest for you leaving the hospital and going home? Like, dealing with the physical world, what were the biggest issues?
So I think the biggest issue was our house that we had at the time. It was one of those houses where when you walk in, you either walk upstairs or downstairs. It was called split level. Yeah.
Okay, split entry,
Um,
right.
and my bedroom was upstairs, but I couldn't get upstairs. You could get into the lower level through the garage. So that's how I would get inside the house. And then my family had to basically find somebody to do what you do or were doing. I don't know if you're still doing it, and renovate
Mhm.
the entire basement, like the entire downstairs, so that I could have a washroom down there with a roll-in shower and a hospital bed. When I came out, I still had a hospital bed that was in this bedroom that they made for me, and so it was really difficult because I was just stuck in a basement for 2 years. I couldn't go upstairs and be with my family and have dinner. I mean, I could, I guess, if my brother carried me upstairs, but it was really difficult with our house. And then, like you said, the world isn't really built for wheelchairs, so
I've done talks regarding this where, hey, these rules and regulations for the, disability guidelines, they're so old. So, I mean, there's a lot of limitations that you have. So, not only are you beating what the doctors are telling you, you're having to compete with that. But then you're like, my gosh, now I'm out of the hospital. I'm in the real world. Now I've got to compete with the world now, my maneuverability, within society. And that becomes a struggle. Then you have to start figuring out, hey, how can I do this? And then you have the home that, has to be retrofitted for you. And then, like you said, they're, you end up selling the home. So now you don't have a place that was fit for you. So then what do you do? Tell me about your journey. Where did you go? How do you find a place? Because there's not a lot of places available that are accessible.
yeah, no, that is very true. And because Chicago is such an old city, a lot of our buildings are not up to, I mean, I guess they are compliant, but those laws should be updated, like you said. But I would just have to find a place that was a bigger building that had, a lot of floors, because that way there's an elevator, and then try to look for a place with hardwood floors and um, yeah, I don't know. You just kind of adapt to things, really. Like right now, I have stacked washer and dryer, and I just try until I figure it out. So
Well, you said something there, Tiffany, too, that I just want the listeners to think about. You said adapt. Um, in life, in business, in challenges, there's certain things that you just can't change, right? you don't just throw your hands up in the air, right, and get pissed off and never use your dryer. I mean, let's say example, you have a stackable washer and dryer. Why don't you just get pissed off and, never use your dryer? I don't think you're that type of person that you're going to do that.
No, no, I didn't do that. I just tried until I figured out a way.
Yeah, and some people that are in the same, have the same injury, they may look at that and say that's a hurdle that I just, I can't overcome. And it's about your mindset of thinking is what I was getting at. There's always a solution somehow to something. It's sometimes we don't take time and problem solve. We don't think enough about it when it's so easy to go in reverse because we've already been there. It's always use that analogy. Going in reverse is easy. A lot of people don't want to go forward because they're scared of that unknown and they don't know what lies ahead. And maybe they're scared of failure. But you don't strike me as a person that gets scared easy of anything.
No, no, I'm not. Yeah, no, I don't have many fears.
Not only have you made it through this entire journey of the accident and moving and going through physical therapy and walking with a walker now, and you're on to modeling, you've done so much, but you had another tragic piece of information. You were misdiagnosed. And you tell me a little bit about this misdiagnosis and what it led to.
For a couple of years, I slowly was just losing my appetite. And I would wake up and I would just be sick to my stomach. The first thing I would do for it was, at least a year and a half. The first thing I would do was just go straight to the toilet and just throw up, and I just woken up. The only way that I would be not throwing up the entire day was if I smoked weed. So it was really bad, and so I went to Northwestern, which is a really good hospital here in Chicago, and they told me I had gastroparesis, which basically means that your stomach isn't digesting food fast enough because of your injury, because of your spinal cord injury. So it's causing your stomach to have like all these issues and you're throwing up. And I just thought to myself, if I was going to have all these issues, wouldn't it have been, 3 years ago when I first got injured? But I kept going back to that doctor and he diagnosed me, but they didn't do any testing on me. It was kind of a thing that he told me there's no test that basically says yes you have it or you don't. It's kind of you just go by symptoms. So I was dealing with this doctor for a while and then finally I went in because it had gotten so bad that I needed a feeding tube because I couldn't eat, couldn't keep food down. So um and I was down to 67 pounds and I'm 5'11. So you can imagine how bad it was. I was just skin and bones. So I went into the gastroenterologist, which is the doctor that was going to put in the feeding tube. And when they were doing that, they had to take an X-ray to see where they would place the feeding tube. And during that time is when they found a mass that was in my chest area. And then I got diagnosed with what's it called, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from there. So
And and so now you have been 2 years cancer free.
yeah, so I've been in remission for 2 years now.
I mean, wow. Do you want to just kick everything in the butt that's thrown at you? Like, wow. I mean, good.
Very stubborn person.
Well, I applaud you for just being the fighter and just, I mean, as you can tell, and anybody listening to this, you have fought this entire way and everything you're doing, and you've gave some great life lessons here too. Meaning, there's always going to be a time that people are going to need a hand. We all want our independence. You don't want to be a burden on other people. None of us want that or wish that on anyone. But with all of that, timing's never going to be good either. Like when it rains, it pours. It's kind of crazy, but we always hear that. But you're learning to adapt, and people need to learn to do that, regardless of what the tragedy is in their life. There's a lot of different forms of a tragedy, right? You've had a couple of them, by the way, just so you know. I don't know, I know you love dogs. I don't know if you're a cat lover too, but I mean, you've you've had a couple tragedies make it through 9 lives, right? My goodness, Tiffany. But you are weathering the storms and you still have a great personality and you still maintain this independence. I mean, that's just a testament to just being a fighter. I don't know where this came from as a kid. Let's talk about that. I mean, were you an athlete as a kid? Tell me about this growing up. Were you just a badass as a kid? What did you do?
Yeah, I was a tough little kid. I didn't take any shit. Let's go. Can you curse on here? I didn't ask if that's okay. Um, I was into gymnastics and I did swimming and I did cheerleading in high school. Yeah, I was a really social person. I got along with everybody in school. I never really had any issues. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I guess that prepared me for for being a fighter is just, learning to lose in sports is pretty
Well, and
important, right?
and constantly fighting still to this day. I mean, you're teaching people how to deal with the injury, through your lessons to make it easier for people. So you're naturally becoming a coach and a mentor with other people that you may not even realize that, but you're a mentor to thousands and thousands of people. You have a huge, social media following and YouTube, and I mean, people have to follow you because I mean, you hundreds of thousands of people follow you. And you have tens and tens of thousands, 75,000 plus subscribers. Some of your videos have hundreds of thousands of views, which, you've got a message and they just don't get to have a talk like this. I'm lucky to have a talk with you about some of these things and thank you for sharing them. But going out there and dealing with the world that is not an accessible world, what do you think something that really is overlooked with someone going through has a disability like this, like say out there in the world, what's one of the biggest hurdles that you have on a day-to-day basis?
The biggest hurdle that I've experienced so far was flying. It was airlines. That's not day to day, I know. That's very no, but what they did is they passed legislation. So I think they have 2 to 3 years where what they're gonna do is supposedly this is what I heard. They're going to make it so that a few of the aisle chairs, if not all of them, can be taken out, and then you would just take your normal wheelchair and drive it into the plane, and then they would lock you down and you would just stay in your wheelchair, which makes a lot more sense. That way you don't, God forbid they drop you if you're transferring or whatever. So that, and then I don't know if they're doing anything to make it a handicap accessible washroom because you'd have to renovate the planes or get all new. I don't know what they would do with that. So I think that yeah, that was really difficult. But I'm not flying as much anymore, so I guess I don't have to worry about that so much anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, there's just the timing. Like, I mean, can you believe that? The timing, and you're not really prepared and taught a ton of things in the hospital. I mean, are they preparing, teaching you everything in the hospital? So when you go out, you've got it all figured out. Like you passed the class, you're graded A.
Yeah, I was scared to go home, to be honest. I was nervous to go home.
Yeah. I would,
Just because, it's a whole new life and it's official. Once you're out of the hospital, it's like, okay, and you have 24-hour nurses and, everything you need when you're there. When you go home, it's scary. After you've been in the hospital for 3 months, it's really scary going
yeah.
home, to be
And
honest.
then now you are by yourself, independent living. What are some of the goals that Tiffany has now? Tell me, what's your next 5-year goal? What are you going to accomplish?
I was in school when before I got diagnosed with cancer, so I was going to school and I had to stop because of all that going through treatment. But I really want to go back to school and do maybe like psychology. I'm really interested in like psychology of inmates. Maybe somewhere down along the lines, write a book. Um, maybe some motivational speaking. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I would be.
I think those are two definite ones. If you don't like the inmate one, you got to write a book for sure. And you definitely need to be speaking. I got to have you out there speaking with me. When I'm speaking on stage or something, I definitely want to have you out there talking about this because I still love the fact of, creating homes for people that have the world when the world's not accessible. There's a huge demand for that. It's a passion project that, I love to do that. And I'm going to see that through forever. I don't think I'm ever going to stop working on that idea.
I love that. I love that you do that, especially because you do it for people that are lower income. It's really hard, especially I've met a lot of people in physical therapy who financially, even though I, was never financially super wealthy, but I've met a lot of other people from, Chicago that don't have the money to renovate their house. It's a really good thing that you're doing. So I'm happy that someone out there
Right.
is at least doing it.
And it's a problem everywhere, it seems like too, Tiffany. I don't think any city or state or country is immune to having people that have the same problem with, the world not being accessible to them like it needs to be, which is unfortunate.
No, yeah, it is everywhere. And I'm lucky that I live in Chicago because it's a bigger city. So
Yeah, you live right in town. Like you don't mess around like you're living in the, whatever umpteenth floor of a big gigantic building. You don't mess around when you live downtown.
no, yeah, I'm in the West Loop area, so I'm in the heart of downtown. So it's a lot more accessible where I am. I went to Michigan for a wedding, for my cousin's wedding. Some of my family lives in Michigan, and they don't even have handicap accessible taxis in the entire state of Michigan.
Oh my goodness.
I called for a taxi. Here I am, city girl from Chicago. I'm like, yeah, I'll just call a taxi. And they're like, yeah, we don't have those. You have to take the bus. I'm like, well, where's the bus? Like, I'm not from, I don't know, where's the bus? So I'm lucky that I live in a city where, it's better than others, a lot better. So,
Well, if you could give some advice to some of the listeners that are dealing with adversity, dealing with problems, tragedies, major things happening in their life, regardless, business or personal, I like to give value to both business and life on these episodes. What's something that you could really just tell someone some advice on how to stay positive and keep the right mindset?
I would say that in everybody's life, they have different problems, but nobody's life is perfect. And we have these issues in our life because they mold us into the people that we're going to have to be for the next issues that come about. Learn from it and, don't be too hard on yourself. You can't help what hand you're given in life. And in the end, even though, you might doubt yourself and things may be hard, they do get easier, as cliche as that sounds, but, you do adapt, like we've said, and life gets easier and you learn how to, just move forward and grow from it. So I would just say,
Well, there you have it, coming from Tiffany Ntanos. Ntanos. Let me say that right. So, how can people follow you, Tiffany, and learn more about you and your journeys and things that you're doing in life? What's the best way to stay connected with you?
on YouTube, Tiffani Ntanos. It's Tiffani Ntanos. And then it's the same for Instagram. So I'm on YouTube and Instagram.
So make sure you guys are following Tiffany. But before I let you go, Tiffany, I've got 3 questions I'm going to ask you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First one is, what's the first song playing on your playlist right now if you were to look down at your phone?
Real Life by The Weeknd.
Next one, what's your favorite movie?
Ooh, that's hard. There's a lot of movies. Um, like of all time or like recent?
If you had a choice to watch any movie, what would you watch?
I really like Silver Linings Playbook with Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, and Bradley Cooper. That's a good one. Last one. What is your dog's name?
His name is Milo.
Milo. All right.
He
Got it.
just looked up when I said his name. He's like, yes.
Tiffany, thanks for sharing today and just being so open to tell us a little bit about the story. I encourage people to follow you and learn more about you, but you've enlightened us on how to overcome challenges and talk to us about adapting. And you're going to have those feelings of being angry and feeling helpless and battling depression sometimes in life and in business. It's okay. But It's making you stronger for the next challenges that come your way, and you are living proof of that. And I look forward to doing this again,
Thank
Tiffani.
you.
Just want to say thank you so much for being so open with us today.
No, of course. Thank you for having me on. I really liked it. Thank you.
You got it. So, again, thanks everyone for listening. And don't forget, you're always on call.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, friends, you are always on call.